Hello, everyone. We're just going to wait for everything to catch up. It should just be a moment. But welcome to Art Night. I hope that if this is your first art night, that you're going to enjoy it a great deal. But this isn't just art night. This is fun and this is exploration. This is a time for us to shine. That's what we're going to do. We're going to shine. So I invite you to shine along with me. That's just part of the fun, the shining. So, welcome, 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 welcome. You're going to see some stuff up here really quick, but let me introduce you to where we are and what's going on and what's going to be done today. I mean, we have our paint brushes. Well, I have tons of paint brushes here, and you're going to see the nice. Hold on, let me show you this thing because I think these are awesome. So let me just show you this really quick. This is just awesome. So this is just a nice wood palette, but the way it's designed, I can. Oh, it's got that fancy grip, fancy grip, fancy grip. I am your Saturday night. I am your host, and I am your artist, and hopefully just a friendly face to join you this evening. So we have our palette, and we have our canvas board, and we have our lights and our microphone. Welcome. So a quick idea of where we are. We are in my studio and library space where I do almost all of my streaming. And, it's become the prime location for these streams lately. It's become the prime location for us to get together and create art or do my workshops that I host every month, third Saturday of the month. Other than that, this is also where I do most of my work. So the art that isn't live streamed, and I do my writing here, and just so many other things. I have my bookshelf behind. So behind the canvas, there is there's some wall decorations. There's my fencing mask, a helmet, a bookshelf, couple bookshelves, just some wonderful things. And, we're not going to focus on all that, but I just want to introduce you to the space. It's a great space, and I like being here. Oh, we're going to be using a couple of different kinds of paint today. So I'm just going to put a couple up in front of the camera really quick. So we're going to be using both Shuttle Art and Cali Art acrylics. Now the Shuttle Art are what are called vintage paints, and the Cali Art are just a modern acrylic. They have different viscosities, different drying times. We're going to be using those. I've already gone ahead and done kind of a pre-sketch of what my plan is on the canvas board. So once we get to painting, there's already something there. I already have an idea. We've been doing a lot of these character designs and everything. And if you've been following me for some time, you also know that, I do abstract art, I do charcoal drawings, all different sorts of things. And I've been doing kind of a illustration style, kind of impressionist, a different style of art lately. But right now, I'm just going to dive into an explorative quality of art. So let me just move this really quick. Move that palette out of the way. So what we're going to be doing here is I'm going to be doing a character in a slightly different way. We're going to have a portrait of a character. Just a really nice up-close shot. And as you can see, I've gone through some sketching. And I have some ideas. I have a bunch of ideas. But right before I get going, let me go ahead. I'm going to drop a couple of things. And just so it's there. So depending on where you're joining me, there is going to be a link either in the chat or in the description of the video somewhere for my Amazon storefront where you can actually get the paints and brushes and things like that I use. So like this wooden palette is there, these canvas boards are there, some of the brushes I use, the Cali Art and the Shuttle Art paints are there. So if you want to try any of it out, and you get something there, that would be awesome. And if you get something there, I do make a little bit of money if you do that. So just so you are aware, I do make money off that if you buy those things. But let's talk about this character and let's actually start diving into what we're doing. And we're going to be doing something great here. So I had an idea. I mean, I think that's kind of natural. Like, that's what happens when art comes along, right? Yeah. You have an idea. And I am a storyteller, and last time I kind of told a story to go with my character. Well, this time I have layers of story. I have layers of it. Oh, and there is closed captions on, so hopefully you can see those. And that's just to make it easier for everyone. So if you need captions, those are available. I know that they should be showing, depending on where you're joining me, those should be showing, or there should be a button somewhere nearby so you can turn them on. But I do have captions available. So I had a bunch of ideas for a character, like a ton of ideas. And I started thinking, like, what kind of character did I want to make? What kind of story did I want to tell? And let's be fair. When you create art, you tell a story. And that's exactly what I'm going to be doing here. I'm going to be telling a story. But I was thinking, like, what visual aesthetic would be nice? What kind of style would fit? And also, like, what inspires me? So I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the things that have inspired me over the years. And while we're at it, I'm going to be using a little bit of this Cali Art Vermilion, and I'm going to start blocking in some color. Because I have a bunch of colors I need to block in. So I'm going to be using this 1-inch flat brush. So here's a 1-inch flat brush. I'm going to be using this, and I'm going to be using that vermilion, and I'm going to start blocking in some colors. And what we're doing here is I'm following a basic principle and concept of lighting and tone and everything. So I'm going to block these in, get some of this started. Feel free to let me know, like, what are you doing this weekend? What fun, amazing things are you up to? So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to start doing this. And I'm just blocking in color. This isn't necessarily about accuracy or anything yet. This is actually more about getting my initial color and concept there. And I'm forming what's going to be like my base layers of color and my undertones of lighting and shade, but also giving vibrancy and life. I need something to work on. I can't just conjure everything up from the abyss. I wish I could. Oh, I wish I could. I need to build up slowly, like any artist, right? So I'm using this vermilion to create what's going to be a form of underlighting on the hair. And as I do that, I'm going to be building upward as we go. Building upward. If you hear a cat, that would be my good boy. He has been playing today quite a lot. Playing quite a lot today. And that's what he's doing right now. And of course he's making mischief while I am on stream. Because what else would he do right now? Oh my goodness, he's making mischief. I hope that does not end up something bad. But that's what he's doing. He's making mischief. So I'm just blocking in some concept areas of what's going to be both lighting and texture and an early layer of paint. When you're doing any painting, a lot of what you do initially is not, it's not about details. So, right now, we're not concerning ourselves with the details of the piece so much as some establishing qualities. So, I got into art a long time ago, as I'm sure many people did who are artists. You get into art sometimes early. Like, you develop a lot of your passions and interests at early points in your life. And oftentimes they just continue building as you grow, as you learn. But I kind of had a visual aesthetic I was going to go for today, which is inspired, was inspired by Eon Flux. If you've never seen Eon Flux, don't worry about it. That is fine. But there was this interesting, beautiful, sometimes like just really detailed but also alien nature to a lot of the work that was done in Eon Flux with the animation. I'm going to be using a Mars Orange. This is one of the Shuttle Art Vintage colors. I'm going to grab that. And I'm going to get this Cali Art Lemon Yellow. And I'm going to start blocking in some kind of highlight and low light areas on our character's face. If the lemon yellow will cooperate, and it's not. There we go. So I need this Mars Orange and this lemon yellow, and I'm going to start blocking in areas of dark and light. And we're going to build up from there, and I'm just going to take it as I go. So, Eon Flux was just one of several it wasn't exactly a cartoon. Hey, welcome, welcome, welcome. And it wasn't exactly like a cartoon that, you'd let your kids watch. It was very much an adult thing, but, I was allowed to get into all sorts of trouble when I was younger. Not always a good thing. And I got exposed to Eon Flux, and so I'm going to try to capture some of that visual style here as we move forward. But first I have to establish some of the lighting, and also talk a little bit about my idea. So what we're going to be doing today, as I block in some of these color zones, is I'm going to be creating a moment of emotion. This character has something going on. Maybe we don't want to know what it is. Maybe we can't know what it is. But regardless, they have something going on. They're having a moment, a personal moment, an emotional moment. They're feeling something. And I want to capture that feeling. I want to really bring forward the potential direness of what they're feeling. Sometimes we feel very big things, and sometimes those very big things affect us in very big ways. And I think right now I'm dealing with a character who's trying to deal with those very big things in a very real way. A way that, maybe they don't actually know how to deal with these things. Maybe they're just trying to figure it out, like we all do in life, right? Like we all do in life. And I'm going to get a little, creative and sort of abstract in how I show this, but I'm also going to lean into that sort of animated quality. As I put in these initial zones of blocking. We're going to do a little bit of wet blending. I'm going to create some really strong shadows. And other than some really strong shadows, I'm going to try to create some really bright highlights. I'm going to mix a little bit of that lemon yellow and that Mars orange together because I want to make a mid-tone. I'm going to grab a little bit of my vermilion and mix that in. So this is going to give me my kind of mid-tone here. I might have to mix a bunch of this right now. Actually, I'm going to mix in a lot more lemon yellow. Yeah, I like that. I like that. A little more of that Mars orange. Yeah, I like that. And I'm just going to be creating areas of blocked in, like shading and highlights, and try to work up as we go and tell a story again. But let's talk some more about art and inspiration. When it comes to inspiration, it comes from many places in life. And some of those places are things that we watch, things that we see, and other ones are things that, we feel. So, I know that's a bit vague, but, let's be fair. There's a lot that we feel in life that has more impact on us than things we see. And there's also a lot that we see that has a definitive impact on how we feel. It can really change what we associate with what. I'm liking this color combo for getting, my early shading and everything in here. Liking it a lot. Now, let's talk a little bit. I know, I'm doing a lot of talking. So, going backward, there's a bunch of artists that really inspired me in my early life. And some of them were just incredibly wild. And when I say wild, I mean they had a quality about them. An innate sort of being that also created a mood. And I'm going to talk again about Aeon Flux here in just a second. Aeon Flux did a lot of things for me growing up. One of those things that Aeon Flux did was it exposed me to a different way of thinking. Now, it was a very adult show, and it had very adult themes. But more than very adult themes, it also had very non-traditional ways of doing things. And some of that non-traditional thinking was amazing to me. Eon, this character, this super soldier of sorts, this spy, this assassin, this woman was oftentimes the architect of her own life. With the ability to make decisions about where she was going and how she would experience the world and what she would or wouldn't accept. I'm going to get a little bit of black. And when I was younger, there wasn't a huge amount of what I would consider like incredibly strong women characters. There weren't. But we had Aeon Flux. She controlled her own agency. She fought her own battles. She made her own decisions. I thought it was amazing. I thought it was beautiful. There was something sublime about it. I just added some ash black as I start to build up some areas. In this, I'm not going to use a whole lot of black. I just want to use it in very specific spots, which some of it's going to get covered right up as we move forward. Because I don't want to use like a ton of black. I am going to use some black early while I'm doing this construction, so that I make sure not to lose certain things. And I don't actually care if this looks good yet, you know. It's not important to me that it does. At least not yet. But what is important is that I can capture a feeling. Have you ever worked really hard to capture a feeling? Like really just strived to achieve something that potentially could have been impossible? I'm actually going to put some of that in here. Again, this is construction blocking. There's a lot of ways to block colors. There's no right or wrong way. There are better ways. And I want these lips to be really dark when I'm done. I want certain aspects of the eyes to be really dark when I'm done. So you can see, like, now this is already starting to take a shape and a form as we move further along. Now, Aeon Flux wasn't the only thing that kind of had that effect on me. There was also things like the Head and the Max and certain cartoons that you could watch late at night on MTV. They just had an interesting effect on how I saw animation and art. I mean, there was a bunch of other really good stuff too. I mean, You had things done, of course, before I was able to really appreciate them, like heavy metal, stuff like that. If you haven't seen heavy metal, I highly recommend it. Very highly. I'm going to try to get some of the sketchy concepts in here. As you can see, like, we already have a lot going on. I'm going to let that dry for a moment because, again, I'm blocking in colors. I'm getting some of my initial dynamic in. And I need some of this to set because I have textured paint on here, and I don't want to lose those textures. I do not. But let me move forward in some of my discussion and my concept and my ideas with this character. As you can see, like, we're already catching an emotion. The eyes are wide, the pupils are big, the mouth's hanging open. She's leaning into us. What is she experiencing? What is she seeing? What's going on with her? And more than what's going on with her, where's her mind? Where's her... So many things. So many things. Alright. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to grab another paint really quick. I got two of them, actually. So this is going to be raw umber. I'm going to use raw umber from Shuttle Art. And that's going to be mixed with phthalo blue. We're going to be using this for a lot of the darks here. I'm just going to mix these right now. I'm going to get them on my palette, get them ready. Because that's actually the most important thing right now. I just need them ready. Because I'm going to be doing a lot of color mixing here. You know, so we're going to have phthalo blue and raw umber. I'm going to mix those together. It's going to give me a really nice dark color. And I'm going to go over top. So that red is the underlighting for the hair. So we're going to have red tone to it. Kind of that warmth. I want to keep that warmth there. And we're going to have a lot of warmth to the skin. A lot of warmth to the skin. And a lot of warmth to the face and the hair. This is going to have a really good lighting to it. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to use the same brush that I used for getting the red on there, because I want some of that red too, as I mix my phthalo blue and my raw umber together. Both of those from Shuttle Art. And it's going to become a wonderful dark color, a rich color. I can just show you this right now, actually. And you can see I'm still using that really zigzaggy, meandering brush stroke. And some of this red is still wet, and I honestly don't care. It's actually going to be good that it is. And then, while I'm at it, so yeah, so we're capturing several things here. I'm capturing emotion. I'm capturing some visual intensity, and we're getting the layers already. We're getting this feeling. So I'm going to grab some of my Mars Orange, and I'm just going to layer some of that in here while this is still wet. Get it right here. Grab some of this. Now, again, before anything is really set, I'm going to come through with some of that yellow, grab some more of my phthalo blue and that umber. I really want this to be as living, as alive as possible. And one of the ways you do that is, number one, not accepting single tonality, but also continuing to mix through. So when this dries, we're going to have a great texture, and we're also going to have a lot of colors and a lot of tones, but it's going to look natural. Maybe not incredibly natural, but it's going to look natural. So I'm going to grab some of my vermilion, because I want some of those reds in here. I want some of that warmth in here. Grab a little more vermilion. Actually, I'm going to mix some from the bottom. This is really going to be a visually striking thing, I think. And all this blocking in has already given us, our start to our character. The feel of our character. We want to feel the character. So something I'm going to put on here really quick is I'm going to get some light apricot, also from Shuttle Art. And I'm going to spread that on the lips because I want to take some of the tone down now. They already have that dark underbase. I'm going to take some of it down. I'm going to use a round brush. This is a number 2 round brush. And I'm going to take some of that light apricot, and I'm very carefully going to work that in to the early tone of these lips, because I want them to be very much alive and also clearly defined. I want them to stand out. There's going to be so many things in here that I want to stand out really well. And the only way to do that is to do the work now. Put it in now. You have to put the work in on your art. But I think a lot of people realize that. We have to put our work in, right? I can't just assume that this is going to be amazing. I have to make it good. So just getting that apricot there over top of the black. So it's already going to be dark lips. And now with this apricot in hand, I'm going to apply some here. Again, I'm going to be creating feeling of multiple light sources. And more than multiple light sources, we're going to get a nice, natural, dramatic shift based off of everything from lighting to presence, just really pulling what our skin tone is up more. All right. Now let's talk a little bit more, because I know I started and then I stopped in regards to the the ideas here. But I have a lot to do, and I don't want to slow down. We are creating a person. You can see as I layer some of this light apricot over top of our pre-existing and blend it in, we're getting, again, multi-tonality. Variance in the shades of the skin, of what will eventually be our character's visual presence. It's just a lot of fun. So now I'm going to break off what I was talking about. I'm going to talk some about what inspired this character. So in my books, in Absentia, Obscurus, and in my Kindle Vella story, Kindly Can We Go, there's a character named Guillaume, or Liam, as he likes to be called. Liam is actually based off a friend of mine from a long time ago. And even though I really like his character, I was just thinking, like, what if somewhere out there Liam had, like, a sister? It's entirely possible. I'm sure a lot of my characters actually have a lot more family than we're seeing in the story. And that's really what started this idea. Just thinking about those family members and those people that we don't see. And trying to think, like, what's going on with them? What's going on in their lives? Maybe Liam's sister has some moment in the past of shock to find out what Liam is doing with his life. Realistically speaking, a lot of my characters, their family would be shocked at not just what's going on in their life, but at who they've become. So this is kind of who I'm creating here, but it's only a concept. It's only a concept right now. But it's a good one. I like it. I like the idea that I could kind of branch out and look at other people in my world. And not just any other people, like people that have impact, people that have reason to be there. There's a lot of people out there who have reason to be in my stories that never show up. Okay, maybe not reason to have them in my stories, but there's a lot of people that probably should have shown up in my stories at some point. Who might exist. Who have a reason to exist. What I'm doing now is I'm just getting some white in some of these areas that are blank. I want to have that paint on there for when I do come back in later. So it's already touched, it's already affected. But now that I have that white there, what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to take another flat brush and... not that flat brush. But I'm going to take another flat brush and I'm going to take some of that white and I'm going to put bits of it into where our hair is. creating some early concepts of maybe highlights, or where light is showing up, you know. And since everything's still pretty wet, it's gonna be fun. Again, really reinforcing multiple tones and lighting structure. And giving depth to what is here. There we go. We're just adding a little. Just adding. That's all we're doing. Adding. So I'm trying to think of what Liam's sister's name would be. And not just what her name would be, but come up with some of the concepts of maybe why she's here and what she's doing. I'm going to take a little bit of burgundy and I'm going to start to fill in the irises here. And I'm going to use another round brush. This is a number 2 round brush. I'm going to use that. When it comes to art and story and making decisions, I know that looks really dark right now. It's going to look great when we're moving further along. While I'm doing that, I'm going to grab a little bit of the black. A little bit. Come back in and hit a couple of these edges again. You know, because again, even the eyes are going to take several go-throughs. A bunch of go-throughs to really, really, really hit what we want. So there's that much. But what could she have seen that's causing this physical reaction, this visual reaction? I'm going to be grabbing some yellow ochre really quick. One of the things I'm actually going to do with that yellow ochre is on a lot of these skin areas, I'm going to start to kind of put the yellow ochre on top of what is there. Again, just making this deeper, visually more alive. Visually more alive. I already know this is going to take a lot to get where I want it to be. But I also know that all of this is going to be incredibly well worth it. You know, creating this depth. We're going to have to let some things dry as we go. And we're going to have to trust that everything's going to look right when we're done. But it will. I mean, it is going to look right when we're done. Just remember, even if it doesn't look right now, it will. We're going to get there. It's just getting us further in, really cementing who this is. Ooh. Gotta be careful with that chair sometimes, I think. So that's one of the things we're doing. We're cementing our character. We're getting our visual aesthetic really well founded. Like right now, that's the start of a face. We have some blocked in highlights, we have some blocked in shadows. I actually know already I'm going to have to put some more shadows in here. And one of the first places I'm going to start to do that is right in here. Because I started to lose some of this, so I'm going to start to put it back. I don't want to lose that. I also don't want to lose that impression like she's leaning forward towards us. Because we definitely have that going on. We have that feeling like she's leaning inward. Now I'm going to take some of that phthalo blue, a little bit of white, a little bit of yellow. We're going to end up with a sort of green color. And I'm going to put some really kind of dark spots in here. It's not going to be exactly green, but it's going to be roughly green. And with that, I'm going to start adding extra layers of shading. And this is just part of our process. Getting us to where there's like a heavily shadowed face. Which is one of the things I really want right now, is I want this face to be like deeply shadowed on one side. I know. It's a process. We're getting there. And not only are we getting there, but we're getting there with some fun and some experimentation. So I gotta let that dry for just a moment. Like this. Thank you so much. We're still early on, but as far as the blocking for areas that are highlighted and areas that are shadowed, we're getting a really good look here. I have to let some of these textures dry. as we move forward. But this is really getting a nice appeal. So I'm going to let it dry for a moment. When it comes to the creative process, we all have our own way of getting through it. We all have our own way of exploring it. There are definitely certain things which can look very wonderfully visually striking, but we have to be careful that we're not going too far over. It's really easy to go too far over in one direction or another. And, I definitely want to avoid doing too much, but I also want to avoid not going far enough. So we're definitely going to get into some of those spots where is this too far? Is this not far enough? What's going on? We're going to be using some of this burnt sienna. I'm going to be mixing that with a little bit of red and a little bit of yellow. More specifically, I'm going to be mixing that with our vermilion that we've already put on here. And I'm going to use the yellow ochre specifically. And that's just one of those things. We're going to have to wait a minute. I don't want to move too fast. If we move too fast, everything's going to be muddy. And that's something I'm avoiding right now. But with the yellow ochre, the burnt sienna, and the vermilion, I'm going to make kind of a next layer of shadow. So once some of this dries a bit, I'm going to come back in and I'm going to add some more because I have several layers of lighting going on and I want to use all of those. I want to use them all. We have a wonderful texture to like the hair, and we have a wonderful pop to the eyes. Detail is going to go in as we get further along. One thing I'm going to do right now, though, our lips are dry, and I'm going to take some of that vermilion on its own, and I'm going to put that on there. Because I don't want to wait on that. I want to, because we already have 2 layers of paint going on here for the lips, and I want to start to put some natural reds in here, but I'm not going to be hitting everything uniformly. And also I want to make sure that the lip shape is right. So we're going to be using vermilion to kind of sculpt a little bit. So that's what I'm doing here. A little bit of sculpting. Now I'm going to take a tiny bit of my white and I'm going to take some vermilion and I'm going to make a lighter shade of vermilion. And I'm going to hit that other side of the top lip area. I want the top lip to be a little bit lighter. Actually, I'm going to need some more white because that's still too dark. More white. And in this case, I can definitely recommend trying to use something like a titanium white just because of the way it comes through. Oh yeah. Alright. Then I'm going to take some of that titanium white and red, this kind of red tone. I'm going to start to mix it right there. If I come into the mouth a little bit, it's fine. It's not a big deal. We still have a lot to work on. So, I don't have a name for this character yet. I just I know. Well, I know her last name because this is a potential character that exists within my fiction. So this would be Liam White's sister, Gilliam White. This would be his sister. So her last name is White. We know that. But we don't know a lot more about her. So let's talk about what we know about Gilliam White, or Liam White. Um, Liam is, amongst other things, a criminal, and he is involved in the kind of magical underworld. And when I say underworld, I very much refer to kind of like that. Not exactly a criminal underworld, but it's like a secret society type experience. Liam is involved in that magical world, the world unseen, as it's sometimes called in urban fantasy, the unseen world. But he was also very much a criminal in many ways, many very realistic ways. Robbery is not really a question. Neither are violent acts for Liam. He feels perfectly fine doing that. So, with that in mind, I have to wonder, is his sister the same way? Or perhaps his sister, this shock in her face is in realizing what Liam's been doing, what Liam's been going through. Maybe she didn't know for the longest time. Maybe she was so separated from him that she had no idea the things that Liam was doing. And if that's the case, it would be perfectly understandable for her to be not just shocked, but maybe appalled. I could definitely see finding out what her brother's involved in. Well, maybe it's heartbreaking for her. Maybe that's something that they've tried so hard not to do. Maybe she just didn't suspect that it would be something he would do. Adding some more of my dark sections in here as I go. And while I do it, I'm going to be very, I don't know, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm going to experiment with my shades and my tones. So, expect a little experimentation as we move forward. And actually, I want to grab a little bit more. Boop. There we go. I need to have multiple tones here. So, I'm going to have to grab a slightly different one to create a little bit lighter tone for the shadows on the face. Shadows on the body can be really dark. Shadows on the face should be much lighter. Oh yeah, I'm liking that. Liking that a lot. because I really want to exaggerate some of the shadows. I want these to be deep, deep shadows. I want us to almost lose her face a little bit. I'm going to have to put some of that texture back into the hair soon. Dry brush a little of that on. I'm going to add some more of this up here. Like, we're starting to lose some of her face in the darkness, but I actually really like that. I think it's going to achieve what I'm looking for in some of the tone and texture of the piece, as well as really kind of nailing home that there's something here we can't see. Actually, I am starting to lose a little bit there, so let's go ahead and make sure that we don't lose it all. I'm going to need to add some yellow ochre down here. You know, obviously this has, what is the word I'm looking for? It has kind of a cartoonish aspect to it, as far as our colors and our presentation. But it also has a very natural quality. There's no easy way to get multitonal skin. There's no easy way to do this. Now, I will back up on that slightly, and I will say there are easier ways to do this than I think I am. But, and there are easier ways to get your cats not to make mischief while you're working and painting. But I'm starting to try to get some of the darker zones in here. And I'm going to grab some of this really dark right here. Okay. And this really dark is just going to help me sell more of these deep shadows in here. That's one thing I do want to do and make sure I'm doing is really sell the deep shadows. Like, really sell some of the deep shadows. Really nail home some of the darkness that she finds herself encased in. Oh yeah, we're getting a lot more deep shadow in this. A lot more deep shadow. I'm going to grab some of this lemon yellow that I was using earlier. And using... I'm going to be a little heavy-handed here. And one of the reasons is because I want to start to blend it. But that lemon yellow is going to help me sell some of the lighting. So that's what we're doing. We're selling some of the lighting on this. I clearly need more areas of bright light. So because there's specific spots that would be lit and not in shadow, my lemon yellow is going into those spots. And also being used to blend in here. I'm going to have to do a lot more layers and a lot more blending, but we're really starting to develop the visual style. So, I'm thinking, like, what is the name of our character? And not just what is the name of our character, but what are maybe some of their goals? Can be hard to say at this early stage. You know, we're really still building. I'm going to get a little bit of gray, and even though gray is not a color that we associate a lot with skin and shadow in a very direct way, it is something that you see in light and in the real world. And so I'm going to use a little bit of gray here on this number 2 flat brush. And I'm actually going to get in here because I want to start to darken in some of the center of the mouth. I am going to be trying to make the impression of teeth in here at some point in the future. But right now I just want to add that gray to darken some of that in. I'm going to get some of that gray. I'm going to come up to the eyelid here because I want, again, to start really building more shape. And color and tone. But, you know, this is pretty good for an early moment. And yeah, I'm using that gray right now to give more shape to the eye. Make the lids a little bit heavier, but also more discernible. You know, one eye is really well shadowed, but I don't want to lose the shape of the eyelid. So that's one of the things I'm doing here with this gray. I'll work some of that in over here too. And then work some of it in here. And I'm cooling down some of the piece, but I'm also adding an additional layer to our shading. And that's actually just a good idea. You know, adding an additional layer to the shading and also adding some additional visual aspects where you can pick up some more of the curves. So I'm just putting that there. And again, I'm pulling up. I'm getting rid of some of the harshness that we had. I'm cooling it down. And I'm giving myself a chance to build anew. Granted, I'm covering up a lot of what I already did, but there's certain things in here that I think can be improved upon greatly. And I'm not going to miss that opportunity. I'm going to use that opportunity. There is nothing in a painting that can't be fixed if you don't like it. Alright, so let's get back to our character. I'm going to let some of that gray sit. It's actually really doing a nice job at kind of changing our visual aesthetic. I'm going to put some right there. Oh, I like this already. I'm liking this already. So, there's like the end of the nose. I'm going to have to do more work on that, but I'm bringing some cools in. This is going to have to be gone over again, and what I'm going to do before I forget is I'm going to grab a little bit of this. I'm just going to work that in there. Don't worry. Everything's going to make sense in the end. I mean, I know. I have a lot of work to do. But I just needed to fix that, so we're going to do that. And it's going to be better in the end for it. Better in the end for it. And I'm just going to get a little more gray on here in some spots. So I need a name for Liam's sister. She might not necessarily ever appear in my books or stories, but she does need a name. So I'm going to give that a little bit of thought, because that's who this is. This is Liam White's sister, and we can't know her as Liam White's sister. That's awful. She needs her own identity. She needs her own identity and being. Let me give this some thinking. And actually, while I'm at it, I'm going to have to come in here and make some hard shadow again. Whew. That's some really good blocking and some really good initial work on creating this piece. I can see places that, there's a lot of improvement to be made. I can also see places where I think I've achieved something really good. Really good and really interesting. Now, depending on where you're joining me, there's going to be a link where you can get. Thank you. Thank you so much. There's going to be a link, depending on where you're joining me, where you can get a copy or you can read my story on Kindle Vella. Kindly, can we go? And as I said, so the character, and I'm going to talk again. I have to start as my frame of reference as Liam. And Liam is the brother to this character who has just been created today to fill not just a role, but to flesh out and deepen the stories and the lore um, within my fictional world, my fictional universe. And so again, Liam is involved in this magical underworld, this magical unseen world. Liam is involved in uh, crime and just generally being a ne'er do well. But his sister here, we're just going to call her Miss White for a minute. I don't think that's her. I don't think that's part of her existence. And I think that this look of kind of shock or something that's here, this emotion that she's having, I think this is her coming to terms with where her brother is. Maybe being confronted by it. Of course, Liam's name, his full name is Gilliam. Um, that's very nice. Kind of pseudo French name. Pseudo French because it's not quite spelled right or pronounced right. Gilliam, her brother, has this wonderful name. So, what shall I call her? As I continue to design this and come up with this wonderful representation of her. Because I know that I'm going to have to do a lot more to this. And I need to let a bunch of it dry. Because I had to put those cool grays in there before I went further. And I'm going to have to restructure this side of the face a little bit. And this side. But, alright. All of that off to the side. I'm going to think about this. Let's think what would be the best name for Liam's sister. You know what? I actually have an idea. I have an idea. This is going to be Josephine White. Josephine. So we have Josephine White, the sister of Liam. And Josephine has been confronted with the awful truth. Her brother is beyond her help. He's not just beyond her help, he's beyond his own help. Josephine must contend with the fact that there's a possibility she'll never truly have her brother back. And because she may never have her brother back, maybe her brother is lost forever. She has to deal with what that means for her life. I want some deep shadow over here. Actually, I think that neck's a little too thick. needs more taper. I think that's actually a little bit better. Yeah. One thing that's ever present in my stories is repercussions. Even if people don't necessarily get what they deserve, there's repercussions for everything we do, just like in reality. There's repercussions for everything. One day, Liam might have to deal with the repercussions of what he's doing. For now, Josephine, she has to deal with just that stark reality. At the end of the day, Liam is Liam. Josephine is Josephine. We can't always control what other people do. We can't always help them. I'd like to think that this character actually very much wants to help her brother. And I'd like to think that she has every intention of trying to. Will she be able to? I don't know. But I do know she'll try. I do know that she will make the concerted effort to do it. It won't be easy. It won't be fun. But I think Josephine is a good person. Because she's a good person, she's going to do the right thing. And when we care about someone, that's sometimes all we can do. Now, if I get the opportunity, I think I might tell more of Josephine's story. I think she deserves it. I think she deserves the chance to express, to discover her own power. Have her own adventures. Oh, I'm gonna have to fix her hair. That's okay. If you'd like to see more of Josephine, if you'd like to see more of these characters that I create and come up with, and if you'd like to continue to support, there's a lot of ways you can do it. You can visit my Amazon storefront, and you can either get paints or you can share that storefront with others. You can read my stories on Kindle Vella or get my books on Amazon. And you can help continue tales where we learn more about interesting people, where we find further details about fictional stories and fictional worlds that maybe, just maybe, you'll find beautiful, amazing, and interesting. Thank you so much for being here. I hope you've enjoyed this. This painting's going to need another session because after it dries, I have to do more on the hair. I have to do more to bring the face together, to bring details to the teeth and the lips and the eyes and just everything. But thank you for joining me while we create Josephine, a new character to exist within not just my stories but also my art. And Josephine was born here tonight on this canvas with all of you. Josephine White, and we will find out more about her and her story going forward. But definitely, if you'd like to see more about this character, or you'd like to be involved in the creation of even more characters that I come up with, join me on these live streams. Check out my books on Amazon or my stories on Kindle Vella, or go over to my Amazon storefront, get supplies. All those things make it possible for me not only to live stream and share all this wonderful stuff with you, but that support shows me that you're interested and that there's people out there who want to hear all of this, who want to see and experience it all. And there's so much to see and so much to experience. Take care. Be excellent. And thank you for joining me for Art Night. I've been your Saturday night. Have an enjoyable and awesome weekend.